Okay.
Loud. All right. Welcome everybody. I'm so glad to have my guest. I'm honored and excited to talk with my guests tonight, Chuck and Glenda Hart. Thanks for being here with me tonight, guys. Appreciate it. And you know, they have a very special story of health transformation to share with you. Glenda has worked at Nature's Pantry for what, a little over 8 months?
Yeah.
And Glenda, you've been a really great addition to our team. We couldn't be more thrilled to have you. And I just want to thank you both for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Shall we dive in? So, Glenda and Chuck, tell me a little bit about yourselves. How long you've been in LeGrand? How long you've been married? How many kids? You have kids, pets?
So Chuck and I have been in LeGrand for 7 years in a few days, and we've been married for 27 years. We've been together 30 between us. We have 7 kids. Our oldest is 36 and our youngest will be 18. He just reminded me today, in 27 days. So we have 2 dogs, a cat, some fish, and I don't know, there's some carpenter ants in the basement. I don't know if those count.
Oh, that does count.
Well, we'd like them to not count.
So now, so when you started here, Glenda, we were just starting our first health challenge, and that was just into January a little bit, right?
Yeah, I started January 5th and we started the health challenge the following Monday. So I started on a Tuesday and the following Monday we started the health challenge. So like the 10th.
Okay, yeah. So tell me, you got going on that health challenge and you just started, but you like jumped both feet in, head first, you launched into this challenge. Why do you think it is that you just like went full force into it?
Well, I knew that going to work at Nature's Pantry would force me to change a few things. I didn't want to work at the health food store and be the unhealthy person. And the challenge just gave me the drive to just go all in. And I had told my husband, I said, if I get that job at Nature's Pantry, I'm not going to drive to work. It's only, 6 blocks. I'm going to consistently walk to work every day because that will get me moving and it will get me on the right path back to whole health. And then going vegan was really easy for me because I'm not a big meat eater to begin with, and I'm allergic to dairy, so it was really easy to give that up because I already didn't. Eggs and that kind of thing. Cheese was a little bit more difficult, but once I kind of got over, it was for me was changing the mindset of what I couldn't have and exploring more what I could have, not feeling like because I think a lot of people feel deprived and they feel like they're missing out on things. And I didn't go into it with that mindset. I went into it with the mindset that I'm going to wholly be focused on my health and making the changes necessary because I didn't like who I was and how I feel in my own body. And just getting to a point where I could, being surrounded by healthy food and supplements and people who were going in the same direction that I wanted to go just made it that much easier. And everybody at the store was completely supportive I'd only been there 5 days, but it felt like I had worked there for a lifetime. And that really helped, that the team was so incredibly supportive of me and they cheered me on, and the store employees were my biggest champions through the first challenge. And that made a huge difference.
That's really great to hear. It was so cool to see you just dive into this and to hear about all the results you've had. We'll talk a little more about that. But first I want to just touch on the health challenge and what it is. Well, so I've worked at Nature's Pantry for about 7 years, and Linda Are you having trouble hearing me still?
Say that again.
Are you having trouble hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, when I ask a question for you, I will speak up. But yeah, I've been at Nature's Pantry for about 7 years, and one thing, and I've just learned so much over the years, and I've learned a lot from Linda and a lot from our customers. And this program really kind of came out of what I've learned and what we've learned together. And it's really the fundamentals of health. So it's nutrition. So we're daily tracking points in these categories, and it's nutrition, supplementation, water, sleep, exercise, sunshine and fresh air, and spiritual health, spiritual and mental health. And so really, I think there's a lot of things out there today. It's like a quick fix. Well, I don't really believe in a quick fix. I think there's some fundamental choices and some fundamental habits of health that if we apply those things and we practice those things and we do them day in and day out, they're going to add up to big change over time. I think in today's society, we've traded the fundamentals of health for a quick fix. We've traded it for like a fad diet or an exercise program or a pill or a surgery or some quick thing like a keto, quick, let's lose the weight fast, or somebody was asking me the other day, they wanted a shake that was just going to melt the fat off. And unfortunately, I just don't think those things, you may have short-term results with some of that stuff, but I don't think you're going to have lasting change with it. And so this program really gets built. It's a holistic approach that brings in all the fundamentals to health that will, maybe you're not in the short term, you're not going to have great results, or some people sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Some people see great results quickly. Some it may take a little longer. But if you really, I think one thing that's so powerful to me about your story, Glenda, is that you dove into this 110%, and right away you were seeing results.
Yeah, for sure. I just being able to sleep at night and not have my joints ache. And within 2 weeks of the first challenge, my eczema pretty much cleared up, and my skin looks probably the best it's ever looked in my entire life.
Wow.
And that was huge.
So tell me, so what were all the things in the challenge that you implemented? Tell me, you did the nutrition?
I went 100% vegan,
Mm-hmm.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a gradual, it was an all or nothing, cold turkey. And then talking to Kathy, we started doing some supplements. I'm taking bioflavonoid because I have really weak blood vessels and I bruise so incredibly easy, which has almost completely cleared itself up. And because of all the freight that we do at work, I'd have bruises all over me, which now I don't. And that's been huge. And then just some, let's see, I'm not all sure what I'm taking.
So on the nutrition, I know vegan has really worked well for you. I'm certainly an advocate of as much whole food plant-based diet as you possibly can. I think everybody's different and everybody's at different places, and everybody's body's different. And so you got to find what works for you. I think what's interesting about all the fad diets and all the experts, all the diets, all the trends, everybody will agree on one thing, and that is eat your fruits and vegetables, right? And so,
yeah, for sure.
I think one of the things a lot of the diets like Whole30, keto, vegan, vegetarian, whatever, they all focus on adding in whole plant foods as much as you can. But then they focus on what you can't have and what you're taking out. And for us at Nature's Pantry, we really like to focus not on what we're taking out, but more on what we're adding in. So when we're talking about 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, let's try to get that. Maybe we're not getting any servings. Let's try to get 3 and work our way up to 5. And then over time, we'll get up to maybe 9 on some days. But a serving is just a half a cup of fruit and vegetables. And so it's really not that much. You know, like a big apple is probably at least 2 servings. So I think, you know, that's the common thread. There's so many things we get from fruits and vegetables that we need. We get vitamins, minerals, fiber, phytochemicals, enzymes. I mean, the list goes on. These things fight disease. These plants fight disease. When at all possible, we need to be getting these things. It's preferably all organic fruits and vegetables. You know, there's some resources out there that explain why organic, but it is pretty important. You don't want to be putting chemicals in your body. They did a study recently on 4 families who had like 200 and some chemicals in their urine, and after just a week of going organic, they had, of those 200 pesticides that they found in their urine, there was hardly any left just after a week. So imagine you know, after a month or 2 of doing that, you would basically clean your body of pesticides. Those pesticides, Roundup is one of the ones they've done a lot of studies on, and that's the most widely used. And it really hasn't been used that much until recent decades. And now it's being sprayed on everything. And it's been linked to many diseases today: autism, cancers, autoimmune disorders, gut issues. I mean, the list goes on. And so organic's super important. And adding in those whole plant-based foods, fruits and vegetables. So Glenda, you really took that to the limit. You really did it fully and 110%. And it was really cool to see you go there and get the results you did so quickly. So tell me, Glenda, about water. How were you doing on the water?
I'm doing really good on the water. I didn't realize how important it was. I knew you shouldn't, you should drink plenty of water. I just didn't realize that even as much as I drank, it still wasn't enough for my body size. So that was a big deal of just making sure that I was getting enough water in a day. And I actually added an extra 20 ounces because at work, I literally do all the heavy lifting. Well, me and Amy in the store do all, you know, I'm lifting bulk bins and stuff up over my head. And so I would find that my muscles get really fatigued. And 9 times out of 10, it was because I wasn't hydrated enough. My body didn't have enough water. Once I got on top of the water, it just made it so much easier to do my job and not feel like it was going to kill me.
That's so great. So tell me about your exercise. You've been getting your exercise in too?
Yeah, I'm averaging 30 minutes 3 times a week, and I'm changing between strength training and cardio. And the girls at work and I hike a lot. So we've been doing Mira a lot. We're working up to do that 7.5 miles. So, and then yoga, just because at the end of the day, my body is wore out.
Yeah, stretching is so good, and keeping that body moving. You know, if you can get in the challenge, we got 5 points for every 30 minutes. And, you know, I definitely, you know, doing some kind of movement every day, some kind of stretching every day is so good for you. There's so many, the benefits of exercise are many. And the water thing, the goal for there is half your body weight in ounces. But if you're drinking like 1 cup a day, you know, try to get to like a quart a day. And once you get to a quart a day, try to get 2 quarts a day. And once you're there, then shoot for half your body weight in ounces. But so for me, I weigh 160, so I'm drinking 80 ounces a day. And when I first started doing that, I was actually pretty, my body was used to being dehydrated. So it took a minute, but a couple days, then my body started craving that much water. And I feel so much better. And now if I don't get that much water, I'm like feeling very thirsty, and I notice right away. So we're not going to go into all the things. There all the fundamentals of health: nutrition, supplements, water, sleep, exercise, sunshine, fresh air, spiritual and mental health. These are also important. But Glenda, I want to focus on your guys' story. I want you tell me about, so now it's been 8 months and you've done 3 challenges.
I have done 3 challenges.
And you've been in the top. You won the first challenge, and then you at least got really high up there in the next 2. So tell me all the results you've seen so far.
Well, the biggest one is I've lost 30 pounds. That's been huge because it didn't matter what I did before, the weight just didn't come off. And I'm super motivated I turned 50 a few weeks ago, and I didn't want to be the weight I was when I turned 50. So that was a real goal. And with each challenge, my goal changed. The first challenge was to just go all in, and I did that. And then the second challenge was to just I wasn't really mindful about what I was putting in my body. So I've really started reading labels, going organic, being as close to whole food, plant-based as I can. And not to say that I don't have a chocolate bar every once in a while. I don't want people to think that, because I do. But whereas before I would eat 3 candy bars, now it's like 3 pieces of one. And like I have one in my purse and I've been snacking on it for a month now, which I probably need to throw it away. But it's, it's now looking at it like it's a treat and it's not a way of life.
Yeah. So Glenda, you lost 30 pounds in over 8 months, and probably a little faster than that. Your eczema is gone. You're sleeping through the night for the first time since having babies. You have eliminated joint pain, and you're overall just feeling more vibrant. You have more energy, and you're just feeling better.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
all of those things.
That's a pretty remarkable turnaround, for sure. So Chuck, what did you think about the whole thing at first?
I
heard you weren't so gung-ho right at the beginning.
Well, it wasn't that. I was for her,
Yeah.
But I said I was going to support her. I started trying to cook, which that was hard for me because it took me quite a few years. I got to where I can copy the best foods we've had from some of the best restaurants we've had. And I've learned how to cook international foods. And I'd spent probably the last 3.5 years working on my Southern Indian cooking. And then she goes vegan. And so actually that was probably my biggest pain, was just, I'm now having to learn how to, our meals are what I personally consider extremely dull. I try to make them she thinks they're great, but I try to make it as flashy as I can, and try to get more variety. And that's probably been my biggest challenge, is getting out of the monotony of this, same things. Because I never cooked vegan, but so now I do. And I've learned how to do a couple there's like three Indian dishes that we can do. Mexican food's easy. I can do that. You can actually make tacos just out of brown rice, and they taste pretty much the same. I told her that, she told me, you don't have to eat like I do. But I said, no, I'm going to support you, but I'm not going to go 100%. And I haven't. But I'd say, 90%? Would you say I'm at least 90% vegan?
Now more like 95.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I was really impressed with your ability to adapt and support your wife in this. I think that's really cool. And, I think we can learn from that as with our own spouses and with our own significant others and loved ones, that, when somebody steps out on a limb and tries to improve their health, that we can really come alongside them and try it. And what's the harm in just trying it, even if it's just for a little while?
Exactly.
So I really commend you for that, and that's really cool and inspirational for us. Did I lose you? Oh, there you
Oh
are.
my gosh.
You
Sorry.
got us?
Oh, you're fine. Hey,
Okay,
so
here we go.
so tell me, Chuck, tell me about your health history real quick and what you've been through.
Okay, so I guess I was a workaholic. That doesn't sound like it's coming through good. Are you hearing us okay?
It's got a little bit of an echo. Maybe just turn the volume down a hair or something.
Turn it down on here and maybe up a little bit on there.
Okay. Is
How's
better?
that? Now we can't hear him.
I don't know how to fix it.
Turn that down a little bit.
I muted myself. You guys go ahead.
Are you muted yourself?
Yeah, tell me about your history and what you've been through, Chuck.
Okay. I worked a lot, you know, in the beginning when Glenda and I first got together and it looked, you know, we were talking marriage and stuff. I asked her, how do you want your life? How do you want, you know, do you want to work? Do you want to go to school? Do you want to have lots of kids? And, you know, I already had 3. She took on my 3. She had 1. And then we had more. And she said she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. She wanted to raise the kids. We needed to have a parent with the kids all the time to be in their lives. And I told her then the sacrifice would be my time. I mean, that large of a family, it's going to require a lot of money. And so that's what we did. I worked, and then over time I turned into a workaholic. I actually didn't function well. Looking back on, I didn't function well when I wasn't working. And even when we were on vacation and stuff, or family gatherings and stuff, my mind was always at work. And then it got to the point we'd moved to Bend, Oregon, and we built a brand new house, and the debts went up and up and up. We never got into toys, but it was all into real estate and stuff. And it got to the point I was working 80, 90-hour weeks, and did that for about 5 years. And then I got really, really sick. Turned out I had kidney disease. Got to the point of transplant, and wasn't even sure I was going to make it through the surgery. I was my body, my blood, anything with my blood, anything with my body was just, it was shot.
He was pretty toxic.
So then then you had a kidney transplant, and then the doctors basically told you that you were never gonna hit certain numbers. You were never gonna hit certain health markers, right?
Yeah, the main marker that they look for with kidney disease is the body's ability to clear the creatinine out of your system. And creatinine is a byproduct of meat, and it's also a byproduct. Creatine, people take creatine powders and stuff, the protein powders. Well, your body, if it can't get rid of it, like mine couldn't, it turns into creatinine is what happens. And ideally, a healthy person wants to be between 0.7 in their blood on their numbers, 0.7 to a 1.3. I hit 13.
Oh, wow.
And then after the transplant, I was around 4 for quite a while, between 3 and 4.
Still pretty high.
And then it got down to 1 points. And it stayed that way for quite a few years now. I'm coming up on my 12-year anniversary. But my goal was always, I want to get 1. I want to just be 1. And, you know, I was told by the doctors, that's a good goal, but it's never going to happen. It just doesn't happen with transplanted with one kidney, being a transplanted kidney. But had blood work done here in July, and I hit 0.96. So I actually went below my goal of 1.
Wow. Wow. So that's pretty remarkable. The doctors told you that wasn't really possible. And do you think that had something to do with your change in your diet?
Well, I know for a fact it did now. I have a weird relationship with my nephrologist. He saw the number obviously before I got in to see him here a few weeks ago, and I'd mentioned it to him, and then he looks at me and smiles. He said, how do you think that happened? And we're just I'm asking questions. It's a little bit of banter. And he said, what do you think it was? What did it? What was and then I just looked at him and I said, I stopped eating meat. And he just smiled and he said, I knew you'd figure it out. I didn't think it would take you this many years, but I knew you'd figure it out. And all I could think of was, you knew this the whole time. Never once during the whole thing. They always said, cut down on the meats. Told me to cut down on other things. They never said, cut out your meat and your dairy products. Cut out all meat. I never knew that played a factor in the body's ability to clear out, the kidney's ability to clear out.
Wow.
Well, it helps because, it's a whole biological thing. Meat proteins are larger than vegetable proteins. They're too large for the kidneys. They can't easily and readily pass through the kidneys, but the kidney keeps pushing it until it busts through little things in there that they don't grow back. And that's partly what was my problem. I destroyed my kidneys because honestly, I've been thinking all week and I can't remember a day where I haven't had meat or dairy, most of the time both, in my life.
Wow.
Until I started in March. I started personally really getting into it. Like I said, I'm not 100%, I'm about 95, but I really started changing everything in March.
Wow.
So March to July is when we saw the results.
Yeah.
So April, May, June, in 4 months' time.
Yeah.
It also affected my cholesterol. Well, I mean,
tell me about those numbers, all your cholesterol and all the other numbers too.
About your cholesterol numbers.
Okay, so a year ago, I need to go there. My total cholesterol was 183. It's now down to 162. So the overall has dropped 21 points.
Wow.
The LDL cholesterol, which that's the bad cholesterol.
Yeah.
Last year it was 120. This time it's 91. So that dropped 29 points. My good cholesterol was 40 last year. It's at 47 now. So that's up 7. And then they have a ratio, what they call non-HDL. It's just the ratio between the good and the bad. Last year it was 4.6. Now it's 3.4. And you want that number to be low. And so all the bad has gone away. I'm in what they consider optimal.
Wow.
But I just discovered something literally 2 hours ago. I went into Harvard, into their cholesterol figures and stuff. And my numbers are actually better than optimal for ages 19 and younger.
Wow.
And I never, ever would have thought, because another thing that I loved was fried foods. The greasier, the better.
Wow, that is so cool, Chuck. I can't believe that. So now all your numbers improved and you were like kind of on the fringes, and then now you're optimal. And isn't your blood pressure better too? Wasn't your blood pressure better?
Yeah. When we discovered that I was sick, the blood pressure, they didn't believe it. They thought their equipment was faulty. When they first discovered that something was majorly wrong with me, my blood pressure was 280 over 160. And they thought that I was having they thought I was going to drop dead in the office, literally. They hooked me up to an EKG, phone calls back and forth from the hospital. And then they called her in. She transported me to the hospital. And then that's where the journey began.
On our anniversary, people.
And yeah, it wasn't good. Now part of the medicines that I take, it's kind of funny, and this is typical, I think, for Western medicine, and what they teach us and how they heal us. Because the pills that I have to take the rest of my life, there's two that I absolutely have to take, but side effects they actually raise my blood pressure. The ones that keep my body from destroying my kidney raises blood pressure. It puts me at risk for heart disease, and believe it or not, it puts me at risk for kidney disease. Yeah, I'm one of those commercials where it says, "Hey, take this, life is great," and then you got all their side effects scrolling at the bottom. I suffer from fatigue. I mean, chronic fatigue. I'm always tired. I'm functional, but I'm always tired.
Yeah.
But with the blood pressure, my doctor, he's given me a long leash, and I've come pretty close to hanging myself a couple times with it. But he lets me play with my blood pressure meds, and because he knows that I know now where my point is, the point of no return.
Yeah.
And one of them, each one, I'm on how many? Three?
Three.
I'm on 3 different blood pressure medicines, which that sounds like a lot, but believe me, before
It's
the
not.
transplant,
Oh my gosh,
before the transplant, I was taking 27 different pills 3 times a day. Now I take 9 pills total. No, 7 pills total twice a day. There was one, they all have side effects. Each one of them have their own side effects. And this one I want to get off of. And I've tried to taper it down myself.
Nifedipine.
Yeah, the nifedipine. And I've tried to taper that down. And what that was, I never took that before until I went in for my transplant. And they almost canceled the transplant at the last minute because they could not get my blood pressure under control. So they give me this drug, nifedipine, intravenously. And it's like it hooks your body. I literally have a physical addiction to it because it rewires, it blocks certain receptors in the brain. And I've tried many times to break away from it. And the farthest I've gotten is a day and a half. That's 3 doses that I've missed. And then I've got to get it in my system fast because it feels like I'm going to have a heart attack. The pulse rate shoots up around 115, 120. Feels like I'm in a vice and I'm just not functional. Well, with the change in the diet,
You guys are going to like this.
I mentioned it at my doctor's appointment a few weeks ago. And I said, can I cut those pills? Is that one that I can literally cut in half? And he said, he looks up on the computer, he says, oh, I can prescribe it in these dosages. And he said, keep the ones that you have just in case, but we're going to give you, he typed in the prescription right there for 30 milligrams twice a day. Okay, my blood pressure, well, and part of the reason why I asked him to do this is because my blood pressure numbers have been low. I mean, we're talking like every day I experience towards the evening, like 80/50.
Yeah.
Okay, to the point where if I stand up, I drop back down.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. So I knew I could play with the medicine there.
Right.
And that's from the food. That's from
Right.
changing the habits.
Right.
Because my body's saying I don't need as much in the blood pressure stuff now.
Right.
Well, basically what it's come down to is we have cut that one that I've been trying for years to get off of. It's been cut in half. Literally, it's been chopped in half. I have no pain because of it. And I'm maintaining, I average probably around 110 over like 110 to 115, 70 to 75. So I have optimal blood pressure for anybody.
Wow.
That's not on medicine. And I'm not experiencing that pain. And it's too early yet to see what other things are going to start getting better, because this is probably going to be at least a 6 month taper.
Yeah.
To where then we could go to the next step and drop it down to like 20 milligrams. And then I should be able to just stop and not ever have to take that one. But this is one where literally I told him that I played around with it. And he said, well, I knew that you would. And he said, it's painful, isn't it? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, that's because it can kill you if you just stop taking it. Yeah. It's literally, that's how it rewires the brain, it blocks signals. And if you just stop taking it immediately, you'll typically either have a heart attack or a stroke. But he doesn't tell me that. He lets me figure out that pain, because he knows that pain is, in the beginning, pain was what I understood.
Yeah. Wow. So that's just a miraculous story. That is so cool to hear that you've done this. And I think that's a really good point, that if on the blood pressure, if you go to a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet and you're on blood pressure, any kind of medication for diabetes or blood pressure, you really want to work with your doctor to taper those, because a lot of those problems stop, the drugs overact because they're not as needed. And so it's just something to pay attention to. So if you do go that direction and you're on medication, work with your doctor to make sure and taper them slowly over time, like Chuck's talking about. So this is just amazing. Thank you so much for telling us your story, Glenda and Chuck. Glenda, you've had some tremendous results from lifestyle changes that sounds like they're lasting. It's not just a quick fix. It's not a fad diet. You've put in some habits into your lifestyle that are going to have lasting change and already have lasting impact in your life. And same with you, Chuck. You've had a phenomenal, just what a testimony about your kidney, your cholesterol, your blood pressure. Wow, and so cool that you've been able to reach your goals. I'm really proud of you guys. Thank you so much for being willing to share your story. Really appreciate
thanks
it.
for having us.
You're welcome. Oh, and I've lost 10 pounds.
Oh man, that is so cool.
That wasn't my primary. That's the secondary benefit.
Oh, and that's how it works too. You make these small little changes, and over time, you end up seeing some big results, some that you were after and some you weren't, but they're all good. I just, in closing, I just wanted to talk to our audience and just say, as a nation, we are the sickest and most medicated people on the planet. We are suffering from chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, obesity, cancer, autoimmune disorders, gut problems, and so much more. We have replaced the fundamentals to health with synthetic food made in a lab, fad diets, exercise programs, and pills. But we don't have to conform to this pattern any longer. With COVID, there has never been a more important time to strengthen your immune system and improve your overall health. We're seeing that people with underlying health conditions are more likely to have severe illness and even die from COVID. But the fundamental principles of health can prevent and even reverse those types of underlying conditions. Strengthen your defense against COVID and reduce your risk to chronic disease with these fundamentals to health, and you can lead a life of vibrant health now and for life. You know, contrary to what we're hearing from many experts today, your health is not solely at the mercy of your genes or prescription drugs. No, good health is built through our daily choices and lifestyle. Remember, health is the greatest wealth, so invest in your health because you are worth it. All right, thanks again, you two. Appreciate you so much.
All right, thank you, Blake.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you tomorrow, Glenda.
No, I'm going to be out of town, man.
Oh yeah, well, good. You
With the day off.
I'm so glad you have a day off. Great.
See you Monday.
Okay, well, bye everybody.
Bye.